Hello, everyone, and welcome to Hard Conversations. I am your host. I am Dr. Michelle J. Clark. This is a place where we have the conversations that many people avoid, but everyone needs, because sometimes discomfort is exactly where growth begins. Here we talk about personal growth, accountability, relationships, leadership, resilience, careers, and uncomfortable truths that can make us better versions of ourselves. Welcome, guys. And before we get started, if you haven't subscribed, subscribing is totally free. It only takes one click. My goal is to reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So if these conversations value you, subscribe and share this channel with someone who needs to be a part of this community. And I know we can do it, guys. So let's go ahead and jump right in today's conversation. And today's conversation, it is a hard conversation. And the topic is, why don't we just say it? Why are grown people so afraid to simply say what it is that they mean? Instead, we make these slick comments. They'll change their tone. They are intentionally leaving you out. They will say, "Oh, I'm fine," knowing that they're not. They will agree to something and then intentionally drag their feet about it. But you said that's what you wanted to do. They will give you the backhanded compliment. They will post something on social media hoping that you know is about you. They'll stop communicating and expect you to figure out why they're upset. Or they'll say, "I'm just joking." No, you weren't. No, you weren't. There's a lot of truth in jokes. But sometimes that's passive aggression. And today's hard conversation is about why people do that, how it affects these relationships, these workplaces, and most importantly, why accountability requires us to communicate like adults. Yeah, like adults. We're not children. So let's first jump into what is passive aggressive behavior. Webster's dictionary says this: passive aggressive behavior is when someone expresses negative feelings, resentment, anger, disagreement, or hostility indirectly instead of addressing the issue openly. Why are you so hostile about it? Why not just say? The words may say one thing while the behavior communicates something totally different. For example, sure, I do it knowing that you don't want to do it, but then you intentionally don't want to do it. I'm not mad, but you're giving me the silent treatment. You are mad. Just say that you're feeling a certain kind of way. That's a nice outfit for you. And that's not necessarily a compliment. And one of my favorites is, "I'm just saying." No, sometimes you're not just saying anything. You're saying exactly what you wanted to say. You just simply don't know how to take accountability for saying it. And in my opinion, that's such a coward. How can you respect a person that can't even say what it is that they want to say? And that's where today's conversation begins. Hard conversation, guys. Why don't people just say what it is that they mean? Why? It's holding the mirror up. If you have to write your affirmation on the mirror and say, "Hey, today I'm going to say what it is that I mean," then maybe you need to do that. Because there's a lot of people that have the same stance that I do, and it works their nerves too. Sometimes people avoid direct communication because they're afraid of conflict. I said cowards. Just because you say something, that don't mean everything is constituted to a conflict. Sometimes they might be afraid of rejection, but then you're supposed to be all this and that, but you're afraid. Respect a person's honesty. That's why the Bible talk about being honest. Thou shalt not lie, steal. You're a liar. How can you respect a person that lies all the time and can't even say what it is that they want to say? And sometimes they don't know how to communicate their emotions. But that's immaturity as well. Sometimes they want to maintain control. Control freaks. Manipulation. Deflection. And sometimes they want to hurt you without being held responsible for hurting you. And that's the uncomfortable part. Being passive aggressive gives someone plausible deniability. That's not what I meant. You're taking it the wrong way. You're too sensitive. Oh, I was just joking. But if you're consistently having to explain that, I didn't mean to say it that way. Maybe you need to examine the way you're communicating. Because my rebuttal would be this: being uncomfortable with confrontation does not give you permission to communicate through manipulation. There's a difference between avoiding unnecessary conflict and avoiding necessary conflict. Sometimes that's what you need to have. Growth requires learning the difference. People, that's a deflection. Oh, I don't want to say it because they may get up. But in your head, you don't created this whole narrative. You don't know how a person might take it. Me, myself, I'd rather for you to tell me the truth. Why not? You can't get mad at somebody's truth or the truth. Is passive aggression a form of control? It certainly can be. Let's talk about the silent treatment. Someone is upset with you, but instead of saying, it bothered me, I would like to talk about it, they disappear. Now you're calling. Now you're texting. Now you're wondering, what did I do? And suddenly the person who refuses to communicate controls the entire emotional environment. Hard truth. Silence can be communication, but silence can also be manipulation. And that's what the person is doing, and they know it. Maturity is knowing the difference. If you need space, just say it. Hey, listen, let me process what you just said. This is an example, guys. Let me help you out. Let me process what you said, and let's converse about this later. I need some time before we discuss this, or even say that. That's communication. Pushing somebody with silence and expecting them to chase you, that's something entirely different. Something entirely different. Let's talk about the backhanded compliments. You actually look really nice today. Oh, I could never wear something like that, but it works for you. You're doing really well considering where you came from. Must be nice to have that much free time. Listen to the language, guys. Sometimes jealousy, resentment, and insecurities and competition hiding behind their humor of compliments. And then when you address it, watch this. Girl, you know I was just playing. No, you wasn't. Let's normalize asking. What exactly did you mean by that? Then stop talking. Let them explain it. Watch this. Because passive aggression becomes much harder when somebody calmly asks you to explain what you meant. And watch how they freeze, like deer in the headlights. They ain't gonna be able to answer it. What does passive aggression looks like in relationships? Now, this is where things can get real dangerous for a relationship. Ask your partner this, watch this. So while you're watching, think about these things. If your partner is passive aggressive, right? What's wrong? Nothing. 2 hours later, doors are closing harder. Their answers become one words. The affection disappears. The energy changed. But supposedly, nothing's wrong. That's not a healthy communication. That's not healthy communication. And your partner should not have to become a detective every time you're upset. People cannot be held accountable for the needs you refuse to communicate. Let me say that again. People cannot be held accountable for the needs you refuse to communicate. I'm not reading nobody's mind. I don't got time for that. I'm not doing that. Stop expecting people to read your mind. If something hurts you, just say it. If you need something, communicate that. If there's a boundary, establish that. We talked about that. If you're angry, learn how to express your anger appropriately. Take some classes, read some more books about anger and how to express it. There's several books out there. I can put some in the description for you. How do I stop being so passive aggressive? And once you do that, that's emotional maturity, guys. I'm trying to help you. What does it look like in the workplace? Passive aggression can destroy workplace culture. Think about it. If the coworker who agrees in the meeting, everybody know this, and then they complain afterwards. Yeah. The supervisor who refuses to address the employee directly. So instead of telling the employee directly, they send this email, department-wide email, clearly aiming at one person. I know y'all witnessed that. The employee who is intentionally delaying something because they're upset. The person who withhold information. The person who smiles in your face but undermines your work. And leaders aren't exempt either. Let's have this conversation about leadership. First of all, let me just say this. Everybody ain't designed to be a leadership. Everybody can't manage or know how to manage people. If you're responsible for leading people, you cannot lead through hints, jokes. Have the conversation. Set the expectations. When I was an educator, I used to tell my class, I start day one, expectations. Matter of fact, that whole week, in case people forgot or wasn't there. Set the expectations. You can do this in relationships as well. Address the behavior. Document the issue when appropriate. Give people the opportunity to respond. That's leadership. Passive aggressive leadership creates this confusion, and employees become confused because people never know exactly where they're saying. So they're confused. Can social media be passive aggressive? Absolutely. You know the post. Some people need to learn. Funny how people, right? I won't say any names, but, and everybody knows the situation and knows exactly who you talk about. Here's my question. Why tell Facebook? Why tell Instagram? Why tell TikTok? Why tell these threads something you're refusing to tell the person? Sometimes social media has become a substitute for uncomfortable conversations. But posting about somebody isn't the same thing as communication. or communicating with somebody. If your message is really intended for one person, maybe that's the person who needs to hear it. Tell them. Now, for all the listeners out there, all the viewers right now, ask yourself, am I passive aggressive? Now, this is where the accountability comes in at. Because it's easy to listen to this episode and start identifying everybody else. Yep, that's my coworker. Yep, that's my ex. Yes, yes, that's my sister. Yes, that's my boss. No. What about you? Do you say you're fine when you're angry? You intentionally delay responding because you want somebody to know you're upset? Do you make sarcastic comments instead of expressing your feelings? Do you give people the silent treatment? Do you post indirectly messages online? Do you expect people to figure out what's wrong? I wish I can read people's mind. I do and I don't. Do you agree to things and then intentionally fail to follow through? Because accountability means recognizing behavior in ourselves, not just simply identifying it in everybody else. Let that sit. Process that. Rewind this episode and listen to it again. Let's talk about the other side, because here's another hard conversation we need to have. Why do we keep entertaining passive aggressive behavior? If someone makes a slick comment, you don't always have to return one. Ask, what do you mean by that? And look, just like this. What did you mean by that? If someone says they're fine but behaves otherwise, okay. This is what I would say. Okay. So when you're ready to have the conversation or when you're ready to communicate what's bothering you, then we can converse. And then stop chasing. I'm not chasing anybody. I'm not walking on eggshells. I'm not doing it. If someone posts something and you believe it's about you, you don't necessarily have to respond. Who cares? Not every indirect message deserves a direct attention. Ain't nobody got time for that. That's a clown performing. We talked about these clowns, a lot of circuses out there. Let them stay in their circus. And these people, age does not constitute passive aggressive either. Half of these people are old heads. They stuck in their ways. They don't even know how to communicate. Again, I'm gonna go back to how can you respect someone that can't properly say what it is that they're feeling? But you can turn up on everybody else and go off on this person and do all this, but you can't even say what it is that you want to say. How can you respect that? To me, that's me personally, that shows weakness. You're a weak individual. You can't even say what it is that you want to say. How can you respect that? I wouldn't even want to be with somebody that can't even say what they want to say. You can't protect. And I'm saying that nicely. Healthy boundaries don't require you to participate in somebody else's communication dysfunction. Let me say that again. Healthy boundaries don't require you to participate in someone else's communication dysfunction, because that's what it is. But the bigger question is, what would happen if we simply start saying what we mean? Not disrespectfully. I'm never saying that. Not cruelty. Not aggressively. That's not what I'm saying. But clearly, that hurt my feelings when you said this. You know, I disagree. We can agree to disagree. It's okay. I don't appreciate what you said. I don't like the way that made me feel. Let's talk about it. I need some space to process what you said. I don't want to do that. I expected something different. I'm disappointed that you couldn't, whatever, right? I'm angry because whatever. Can we talk about what happened? Can we come up with a solution? All of these examples that I just stated, these sentences require courage. But that's the hard conversation. That's what hard conversations are about. That's why. That's why. You're welcome. Passive aggression doesn't eliminate conflict. If anything, it postpones the conflict. Because I'm looking at it like this is an idiot that don't know how to communicate. And it usually makes the conflict worse because it's annoying. I have someone, she's very passive aggressive, and I can't stand it. I don't want to be around her. Again, I can't respect that. And I'm going to always say this: personal growth requires self awareness. Look at the mirror, guys. Look in the mirror. I know a lot of you guys don't like what you see, but look in the mirror. Change it. Your transformation and the reason for this whole hard conversation is to help you be someone. Transformation is not healthy. Relationships requires communication, effective communication. Leadership requires clarity. Nobody's reading your mind, girl, guy. Resilience requires learning how to navigate uncomfortable moments. Maybe you need to read more books about that. Maybe you need to read more books about strength. Maybe you need to take a certification on, management skills. Career growth requires professional communication, and accountability requires being willing to say, this is how I feel. This is what I need. This is what happened. And I'm willing to have the conversation. That's what mature people say. You don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to be disrespectful. But you need to learn how to be direct. Because sometimes the hardest conversation isn't one you're having, it's the one that you're avoiding. And that's hard conversations. Thank you for joining me with another episode of Hard Conversations. And remember, guys, growth requires us to confront truth, take accountability, and sometimes make different decisions. If today's conversation made you think, like this episode, leave me a comment and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribing is totally free. It only takes one click. Help me reach my goal of 2,000 subscribers by the end of this year, and I know we can do it. And continue building this community around conversations that matter. And before you go, I want to leave you with this. This is my signature question. What conversations do you believe the world needs to have today? Because this is a place where we have the conversations many people avoid, but everyone needs. And I want you guys to be blessed. And I will see you on the next episode. Thank you.